Picture this: you step into the grand hall of a 16th century royal palace. Gilded chandeliers glimmer above, tapestries ripple along the walls, and courtiers shuffle in embroidered silks. You expect majesty, order, and elegance. But then it hits you. The air is heavy, cloying, suffocating. It is not perfumed with roses or incense, but thick with the sharp tang of sweat-spoiled perfumes, and the faint, horrifying scent of unwashed flesh. In a world of glittering power and wealth, some of the most powerful people in history were terrified of the simplest act of cleanliness. Water was considered deadly, sinful, even poisonous. And so they avoided it, hiding human decay beneath layers of silk, perfume, and powdered faces. Powerful. Fearful. Filthy. Imagine standing before Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen of England. She dazzled Europe with her wit, her gowns, her intelligence, but beneath that majesty lurked an astonishing fear. She rarely bathed, famously declaring, "I bathe once a month whether I need it or not." In a world where hot water was thought to invite plague, poison, or even death, Elizabeth saw bathing as a risk too great. Instead, she relied on changing linen, believing fabric could absorb sweat, grime, and illness. Courtiers worked endlessly to provide her with fresh undergarments, never daring to speak of what she truly carried beneath her gowns. Her pale, painted face hid scars and sores from smallpox. Weeks of sweat, oils, and heavy white lead foundation hardened into a crust so thick it cracked like dried riverbeds. Pomades, scented oils, and spices were everywhere, her own personal mask against the reality that her body feared water more than anything else. Even in the court's most glittering moments, the truth remained: beneath every pearl, every embroidered sleeve, Elizabeth feared the simplest, most human act of cleanliness. Now, imagine Versailles in its golden glory. Louis XIV, the Sun King, enters the Hall of Mirrors. Light bounces from his gilded shoes and flowing robes, yet there is another presence before him, the invisible scent of his own neglect. Louis XIV supposedly bathed only twice in his life. Water, he believed, made people sick. Instead, silk, lace, and mountains of perfume masked the natural odors of sweat and filth. Ambassadors wrote that when he entered a room, his smell announced him before his grand figure ever appeared. The king's life was a study in gilded avoidance, a palace of mirrors reflecting beauty, yet concealing the human reality of his fear. Even a monarch who built a world of opulence could not escape the consequences of refusing the most basic care for his body. Imagine kneeling before James, the king who united England and Scotland. He believed the dirtier the skin, the healthier the man. His hair grew wild, clothing was worn for weeks, and he scratched himself constantly, leaving lice and fleas as silent companions. Courtiers whispered in discomfort. To be close to the king meant enduring smells that clung to your nostrils, a reality hidden behind ceremonial bows and elaborate etiquette. His philosophy was radical, even for the time. Personal hygiene was dangerous, and filth was a form of natural strength. Step into the chambers of Isabella of Castile, the queen who sponsored Christopher Columbus. She reportedly bathed only twice in her life, once at birth, once at marriage. Water, she believed, encouraged vanity and lust, sinful indulgences in a life devoted to God. Instead, she relied on scented oils, prayers, and ritual observance. The Spanish court was a place of discipline, devotion, and hidden infection, a palace where appearances mattered more than health, and the scent of hidden disease lingered behind closed doors. Louis XIII, father of the Sun King, feared water so much that when medical necessity forced him into a bath, he had to be dragged screaming. Clothing, powders, and scents replaced washing, creating a court that smelled of sweat, musk, and rose oil. The nobles mirrored their king. Etiquette dictated masks of civility over reality, and the glittering court became a world where cleanliness was subordinated to tradition, fear, and the illusion of power. Picture Marie Antoinette at Versailles, surrounded by silk, jewels, and towering wigs. Bathing rooms existed, yet she rarely used them. Instead, she practiced dry bathing, rubbing cloths soaked in alcohol or vinegar across her skin and changing fresh linen undergarments daily. Perfume became her armor: floral waters, rose oils, musk, layers to conceal the odors of sweat trapped beneath countless silks and corsets. Wigs, powdered and elaborated, were dusted to mask scent. Even the court marveled at her beauty without imagining the unseen rituals keeping her clean. But when revolution stripped away her luxuries, she was forced into grimy cells, her perfumes gone, her layers of linen removed. Suddenly, the very thing she had feared, being exposed, became a reality. Her stench, previously masked by power and ritual, was undeniable. All 6 monarchs, draped in velvet, silk, and gold, avoided water for fear of death, sin, or illness. Their courts thrived on appearances, masking the human cost beneath layers of perfume, powder, and linen. Imagine the reality: courtiers fanning scented pomanders, dancers rehearsing in stifling heat, ambassadors cringing behind polite bows, all hiding from a truth only the senses could detect. Power, tradition, and superstition dictated their lives more than health ever could. History often celebrates kings and queens for their majesty, their wealth, their power, but it rarely tells the truth about their daily lives, the suffering hidden behind the gilded image. Mistrust of water, obsession with appearance, and fear of disease became rituals of concealment. The lessons are stark: power can blind even the most intelligent, wealthiest, and revered individuals to the simplest needs of the human body. Today, we understand hygiene, disease prevention, and the value of bathing. But these stories echo as warnings: when fear, tradition, or pride outweigh care for the human body, the consequences are tangible, hidden, and sometimes unbearable. Even the mighty are mortal, and neglect has a smell.